going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is the state of wrestling, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, bud?
Not a hell of a lot, you know. I'm sitting over here reading facts about these freak parties from Diddy. They seized over almost 800 dildos so far. Exactly. I
did not think
I
was starting off the pod like that.
But that's kind of the thing, you know. It's like a party, all the toys are there, but none of the people. So that's kind of been the theme with wrestling this week.
So it's an AEW Dynamite episode.
Bam! That's right. But dildos are there. You're still not getting fucked.
Oh,
only thing you're getting screwed for is a ticket price. No, it's funny to see how this week it's been just a lull before the storm. We've had so much recently. And now, this week on the WWE side of things, and TNA has been about building towards the next set
I will say, I know I just cut you off there. October's going to kick us in the ass, because we've got the first two debut episodes of NXT on the CW, which they're building like pay-per-views, let's be real, even I'll admit that.
Yes.
But then you've got Halloween Havoc, Bad Blood, and Bound for Glory. We're going to be doing Bound for Havoc, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's so much. And then on top of it, like you said, Bad Blood comes up first. Then, you know, it's just like it's going to keep ticking away. The month's got a lot packed in.
Actually,
we also have the Vince McMahon documentary coming out next Wednesday, so that's going to be big as well.
They came out with a big announcement, Netflix did. I was on there looking for like what the Netflix thing does for us in Canada starting in January, because there's another news story I want to get your opinion on later on when it comes to the Netflix thing. But they put out a press conference or like a press comment thing. It's like, we're hearing a lot from WWE fans and, you know, people that aren't necessarily fans of WWE, and we can just say that this documentary is going to piss both you off. And I'm like, you just said nothing.
Yeah.
You just said nothing. Although I do like the layout of what things look like for everybody in the world on Netflix, other than you guys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I'm going to save one specific part of that when we get to the WWE section, because Spaz was actually kind of organized this week. We're going to do TNA, we're going to do WWE, we're going to do NXT, and they actually kind of slot into specific categories. Going to nail off TNA first, because there's not too much. Couple of thoughts from Victory Road, and I'll tell you guys right now, there's a spoiler. I'm going to be spoiling the Bound for Glory main event, but I think that's being established tonight anyways, and you guys are listening to this tomorrow. So by the time you're listening to it, it's not a spoiler, but right now when I'm saying it, it's a spoiler. Time travel, etc., etc. Victory Road.
We went through that time paradox.
Victory Road, the two big takeaways for me anyway, Joe Hendry tapping out Josh Alexander. Again,
that was massive.
Again, super biased. I've seen Alexander in a lot of matches in the front row at, you know, the Don Koloff. Check it out for Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. Fantastic match for them. Kind of had to have Hendry win when you talk about what we're going to talk about in a second. Nemeth finally sort of doing his own version of finishing the story. Like, he took the title and then he beat the former champion Moose, which is kind of backwards. They doubled down on the JBL involvement with him as well, you know, building curiosity as to what that's about.
He got involved this time.
Yeah, he took out the system.
Yeah.
If you want to get me on your side, just take it, because the system can. A lot of other results on that show, not so great in my opinion. Just saying. Spitfire got their tag titles back. That was awesome. The tag titles went back to the system. Why? With all due respect to Speedball and Mike Bailey, they took the belt back off Wentz when that could have been involved in the NXT stuff. Not the greatest move. I came out, not going to lie, because of the amount of results that made me sort of question everything, I came out kind of deflated from Victory Road. I mean, granted, I was also double screening and watching the SmackDown debut that we're going to talk about in a second, but I kind of came out, and I think I said it to you as well, like, stuff happened, but do we have stuff to talk about?
It's pretty much all, hey, everything's building up nicely for these future events. Yeah. For Bound for Glory, for even the TNA-inspired theme of the debut on the CW. I mean, they still have their relationship there, so there's things happening. But like you said, it's been interesting.
Well, the last couple of pay-per-views were, like I said, I was at the very last Impact pay-per-view because they did it in the Don Koloff. Not quite Destiny, but still check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. I was at the last Impact pay-per-view, the Rebellion, last December, and then from Hard to Kill, where they introduced Nick Nemeth, to now, I think they've been ramping it up a lot. I've come out of a lot of shows with a lot of stuff to talk about. You guys that are listening have seen me do like post, like here's the news bits coming out of the thing and whatnot. Nick Nemeth kind of being announced as like, hey, this is going to be our new guy for a while, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy's talented as fuck. But
yeah,
I came out of this
extremely enjoyable. I mean, he feels like a true top talent. He feels like, hey, WWE slept on this guy for a decade, kind of thing. I mean, the way that the match finished with Moose was awesome.
But do you know what I love, though? You touch on that, right? And there's so many people, like, no matter who it is, whether you go to an indie show, whether you go to TNA, whether you go to AEW, there's always a little bit of, hey, here I am to be the guy that used to be in WWE. Let me insert, like, XYZ. I used to work for WWE promo. He doesn't come off like that, because he is different enough. Like, the way he carries himself is, like, turned up to 11, and he's come in with that, and maybe I'm thinking pie in the sky type stuff, but he does seem like, I really like TNA. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to put them on my back and, you know, have that pressure be on me. Like, he's not
Aaron Rex, where it's like, oh, you have nowhere else to go.
No.
You have to go to Impact to speak your.
But he's never going to be seen as like a TNA homer. Like, he's not going to be a Josh Alexander. He's not going to be an AJ Styles. He's not going to be a Samoa Joe. He's not going to be somebody so intrinsically linked to the roots of TNA. But he does feel like somebody who's genuinely happy to be there, happy to pick up the ball, happy to put the responsibility on his back of picking up the ball and go forward, which is why the story of him coming in, announcing himself to the company, like staring down Moose, saying, you know, I'm going to get to you the right way. I'm going to win all these wins, not beating Moose, winning the 6-man, which meant he didn't beat Moose. So picking up the title before he beat the former champion was an interesting way to go. Because it meant
expected.
It meant as champion he was still going in with something to prove, which is always a cool story to play with. The JBL thing, I have no idea, and I love that I have no idea. Because nobody's going to boo Nemeth at this point, and nobody's really going to want to cheer JBL. Yeah. Like, I remember your gut reaction, and I don't blame you. The guy's, you know, got stuff in his personal, whatever you want to call it, his personal life.
Even the personal side, I was just never entertained by him. But I am biting on the story. I do want to know why.
When he had the long title run on SmackDown, I was one of the ones that said, "Oh, this guy's boring. What are they doing? Da 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 da." It could be anybody, and it's like it's very much like an anti-Cena thing. Go back and watch some Cena stuff and appreciate what he was doing as a babyface, so you can enjoy the entertaining heels. JBL was out there as a boring asshole intentionally, so that when he was going up against flashy guys, like, I'm sorry, top of my head is always going to be like somebody like a Rey Mysterio or an Eddie Guerrero. Oh my God, like R.I.P. Like, perfect guy for those flashy guys to shine against. So like, I am doing now. No, I'm not saying he's a good guy. Yes, I'm looking back at what he did that I thought was boring when I thought about it differently and reapprising it. Like, was he trying to be the star, or was he trying to make stars? And like the same accusations got thrown to Cena in his babyface run. Was he just being out there to make a star, or was he being the babyface that you could hate so that you could enjoy the heels? Exactly. Like, anybody facing Cena was instantly over for a little while, which was kind of a problem. But no, I'm super interested, because I don't. As much as I appreciate what he brings as a heel, I don't want him to be a babyface. I don't think it would work. I don't want him to be a babyface, and nobody's going to boo Nemeth because he's awesome. And he's coming into what he deserved probably 5 or 10 years ago now. Nobody's going to want to boo that. So I love that I don't know is where we're going with that. Joe,
I'm happy I don't know, because like you said, it's intriguing. It makes me want to see and find out more, but it also goes ahead and, like you said, it adds to the overall appeal of, well, it gives it that need to tune in, anything can happen feel.
Yep,
I feel like they were missing for a while.
For somebody like yourself, who admittedly doesn't care for JBL, for you to be curious about it is even more of a good shot in the arm for TNA than it is for me, because I'll be like, okay, he's a dick, but let's see what he does. I think it's more impressive that he's grabbed somebody like you. Like, if it's like anytime, hate to say it, moratorium and all that shit. Anytime somebody that has like AEW in their avatar says anything nice about WWE, I'm like, they must be doing something good.
Yes, they must be onto something.
The Hendry thing, I think, was a natural, like, here's your last hurdle before you get to that top spot. Alexander's great for that. Yes, I'm biased. Great match. Having him win by submission as well just puts the punctuation point on it.
Yeah, you're beating the TNA guy to become the TNA guy.
Yeah, potentially the new TNA guy, yeah.
I'm all for it. And I like how he's got his finger in so many different pies. Like, he can show up at NXT and be the loudest pop of the night.
Yep.
Or he could be in the middle of the card and still be, one of the loudest pops of the night. But he's very multifaceted, so he doesn't have to be going for the title to be entertaining. And that was one of the things, like, The Rock really could do. He could be in any parameter, any situation, and it would work out well. He could tag with Foley, he could go for the IC title, he can go for the WWE title, or he could do none of the above and just feud with Billy Gunn,
But do you know what I like as well? Good. Do you know what I like as well? And I think other people said this about like Kofi Kingston and Big E when they got the main event spot in WWE. There's a mentality out there that the farther up the card you go, the more serious, the more intense you have to get, and whatever. And Kofi never really did that. Big E never really did that. And I like the fact that Joe Hendry isn't doing that either. His gimmick is still his gimmick. I think when we get to that main spot that we're going to talk about in a second, he's going to start his main event match with another silly video or some kind of mocking, sarcastic music video shtick or something like that. Like, it hasn't been like that mandatory, okay, you're here now you got to, like, dummy up and fly right and do serious wrestling. Like, he's maintained it, and I think that's pretty cool because not everybody gets a chance to do that.
No, that's very true, and he's done well at honing in his craft and figuring out who he is as a performer. I mean, I remember him starting out in ICW, and with the Juggalos, and he would do all these crazy low-budget, like, custom songs. He would just change the lyrics and make parody songs about whoever he was facing, and have his own custom entrance music each time because he would record it quickly himself, and it was very, low.
But I think it's cool. I think, like, you hit on something there. Like, I think it's cool that now you got somebody with a little bit of money behind them, like TNA, or, let's be honest, a lot more money behind them with somebody like WWE, and you still keep that intentionally low budget vibe.
Yes,
like when he was singing about Cardona and he was calling him, like, Edge's bitch and all that kind of thing. What did he do? He cut out a picture from a magazine of Cardona and just, like, taped it to his face.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I mean, he's been doing that for years when he would dance and dress as the other people he was facing, and he would just have their little cutouts. And
you and I were talking about movies before we came on today, but it's a thing that I'm saying about legacy sequels in movies right now. The last one that I saw was Alien Romulus, right? And I love the Alien movies, but you go back and you watch them and they look like 70s, 80s movies, right? That's the vibe. So when they were like, oh, they're going to do Romulus and it's supposed to be set between Alien and Aliens with an S, I don't want it to look like a super shiny 2024 movie. And I think they with a couple of exceptions, I think they succeeded in that, if anybody cares about my movie opinion on a wrestling show. But I think it's very much the same thing here where, like, okay, don't go super shiny CGI Joe Hendry just because he's doing some stuff in WWE now. Keep the low-budget, campy, simple stuff because that's literally what got you here.
Exactly. We'll add in the Hardys. We'll have you. I mean, look at the crowd singing "Ethan, put on some clothes."
Yep.
When it was him and Trick out there with CM Punk announcing as the special guest ref, you had the crowd. Ethan, put on some. And it was just a natural thing. No one told them to start singing. Like, no, it just. And that's the thing I love. That's what I miss. Those. The other
thing about it too, and this is where, like I say, with Alexander here, fresh off his heel turn, and with somebody like Ethan Page as well. An act like Joe Hendry is awesome, and he's gotten himself over. I don't want to take any credit away from the guy. You gotta put him in the ring with people that the crowd wants to see made fun of.
Yeah.
And in two very different ways, because you did get a bit serious with Josh Alexander, and, like, show you have your serious side while maintaining what your shtick is. I use New Day as an example, and I'm using that as the highest praise I can think of.
Yeah, and they're seemingly heading towards Splitsville too.
But Ethan's not, like, super intense, and, like, Ethan's just a twat that somebody wants to see get slapped. So yeah, make fun of him, get the old Karate Man videos out and tell him to put some clothes on, because that's how it works. The other thing, I was trying to fumble around a minute ago saying like why I came off of this show not feeling the greatest. Not only were there quite a few results that I thought were just
questionable.
I don't want to say questionable. Hold on.
I will, because there's been a lot of questionable finishes, decisions, and some things I can roll with, like the system taking the tag titles is not a great feeling, and it's also not anything that's worth writing home about. But I don't know. I have a hard time with seeing just Zachary Wentz lose his title this quick. I mean, what a flat run that was there for one reason that really kind of turned into another. I mean, I figured him and Wes would be feuding over this belt for at least some time to come, and then he'd lead into facing other people. Instead, his run is over, and I mean, that was it. He lost clean to Mike Bailey, and now he's going to head into this, match with Wes on the October 1st show, which I'm very excited for, don't get me wrong. And we found out, Trey's injured. That's why they had to cancel the tag team match, and they kind of covered with it with another attack from Wes. Yeah. So the story there is good, but
I mean that, like you said in previous pods, that just postpones when we're going to get that tag match as well.
Exactly.
Him
losing the title just was like, why? What was the point of him? That was it just so we could walk in with the title at No Mercy and then leave? If that was the case, then why didn't he put the title up against Wes that night, especially since he won?
Yeah, but then actually, because that would have made more sense, because you could have had Wes come to TNA for a night, and Mike Bailey could have won it off of him. You could have done something there.
Exactly.
They chose not to. And
that would have furthered this feud. Wes has the belt. He loses the speedball because of, obviously Wentz getting involved, and then that leads up to their next match. But Wentz won the first match, so that's what kind of made it, a little bit ass backwards in the booking department, because typically you see the face not win and have to come back and return triumphantly, but that's not what we got here. So,
well, it's not, and like I say, the system winning is kind of blah, and a couple of other things were kind of blah. I do like the team of Jake Something and Hammerstone. I think they're just going to kill people for a little bit. But what I was getting to before we got cut off there, the other reason, other than a couple of decisions that I don't want to say were bad, they just weren't what I was hoping for. So let's make that distinction.
Oh yeah, it wasn't terrible to see him lose. Certainly not. Like, it didn't make me want to turn off the show, but.
But the other thing that sort of put a kind of a dark cloud over the whole thing, even though I think it was handled really well, was the announcement of Steph DeLander and her neck issues.
Yes. Okay. So they're saying they're going to have the match. They come out, and then she announces, "Hey, I need surgery. I'm going to need some time." And we still got a bit of an angle because we got to see PCOE's walking out, and then Rhino gets attacked by Matt Cardona, and there is that realism there because best friends, and then her husband is on the other side, so we're supposed to have this crazy back and forth. But I was a bit disappointed that they still couldn't have the match without her.
I think because you gotta, or what I have, excuse me, what I gotta remember is, like, they tape the shows in advance, so the show that is the go home show isn't necessarily taped like the night before the pay-per-view.
No. Yeah, so usually it's 2 weeks before minimum.
So a couple weeks back, maybe they set up this match, and then on the night they decide that they can't do it. Steph DeLander herself came out and was very thankful to TNA for giving her the moment to come out. They didn't just cancel the match; they all came out there. She got to get on the microphone, talk to the fans, let them know what was going on, and say it in her own. Like, it wasn't just a news clipping, like, shoved in there as a video package or something like that. She actually got to come out and talk to the fans and talk to the guys that she had just been working with. So, I mean,
and I give them credit for that. That's something WWE
really cool.
usually doesn't do. They would be like, "Oh, the match was canceled. Here's the replacement."
I mean, like, nobody wants to fuck with somebody having a bad neck. Like, let's not even play with that. But wish her well. Like, when she was, what was her name? Persia Parada on NXT.
Yeah.
She was like. She was hanging out with Indy Hartwell, who was hanging out with Candice LeRae. She was like the protege of the protege type thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that was going to take her very far. So when she left, and I don't do all the indie stuff, as we know, but like when I heard that she had like linked up with Matt Cardona and they were doing like this King and Queen of the Indies thing, I was like, good for her.
Yeah, especially while his wife is hired with NXT.
Yeah.
And the main roster, I should say, but
it's one of those, like, I can admit, and it's very much like the Ziggler thing. Like, I can admit when WWE didn't do as much as they could with somebody, so good for her. She's out there doing. I'm probably not going to see it because I'm not watching, GCW and all these other things. I don't
keep up with the indies anywhere like I used to. I mean, I used to know every match, everything that was going on. Like but see, that's Mr. Dedicated.
That's where my kudos comes in, though, because I know I don't do that. So if they're doing so good that I've heard about it somewhere, then they must have done something good because I've heard about it. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I mean, Matt Cardona, former Zack Ryder, wants to come to WWE at some point, obviously, to be with Chelsea, which is awesome. He says he wants to be Matt Cardona in WWE.
Which is even better. And you see them doing it with Shawn Spears.
Well, I was going to say Shawn Spears. I mean, Cody Rhodes was always Cody Rhodes, but this wasn't the Cody Rhodes we had in WWE before. So, like...
No, certainly not.
This WWE, if nothing else, is more open to A, working with companies, and B, taking what worked from other companies and bringing it over and bringing it across and acknowledging it. So, I don't know. It sucks. It's one of those, like, I'm obviously I'm not directing this at her. Like, she did things the way she wanted to do them, but it does kind of put a bit of a pause in the show. And we're talking about a show where stuff's already happened that I didn't agree with creatively. So it just contributed to the show kind of being And like I say, me hopping on the messenger with you, it's like, do we have anything to talk about? Not
and
really.
That's kind of how it felt. It was like it was lacking in some ways. And especially like you said with the show, it was very by the numbers. Like
the Friday night shows are, and again, this is going to tie into something I'm going to ask you about when we get to WWE stuff. The Friday night shows are not the best. They're
typically,
not, because like they've got, like, WWE has B shows, and we know what we're getting with, even before they started doing the international stuff. We knew if it wasn't WrestleMania, if it wasn't the Royal Rumble, if it wasn't Survivor Series, if it wasn't SummerSlam, there's levels to this game, as the cliche goes, right? But they put them on a completely different night. They run them against SmackDown, which is a thing, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, and they feel
it's
like
competition. Competition is just that.
Which is fine. I mean, you've got TNA has a ridiculously loyal audience. I'm sure there's a lot of them watching SmackDown the next day. I don't think they're worrying about it that way. But the fact that they treat them so differently, like they tend to be smaller shows. They move them from Saturday to Friday, and up until now, it hasn't really hit for me. But they really do feel like, hey, these are kickoffs to the next big thing.
Yeah, whatever's coming next.
So
we'll have that rub. We just have to get there.
I'll ramble about anything, and I came out of this having nothing to say. So it
might
be,
like you said, it really did feel kind of flat. I mean, Joe Hendry winning is good.
TNA,
it just puts him up the next peg in the ladder. It's like we don't really have much of a what's next. Who does Nick Nemeth face next? We're kind of unsure. I mean, we're getting the story built up now.
We're getting something. And here's what I'm going to say for anybody that cares about, for anybody's out there that's paying attention to TNA, and if you care about spoilers, fast forward by like maybe 20 seconds or so. The Bound for Glory main event has already been established. The Bound for Glory main event is Joe Hendry versus Nick Nemeth.
Yeah.
On tonight's show, which will already be out by the time you guys are listening to this tomorrow anyway, it's him and Kazarian, and there's like a fuck finish, and Santino comes out and restarts the match, and Joe Hendry wins. Because
nice.
I like Kazarian, but they're not putting Kazarian in the main event of their WrestleMania.
No,
I'm sorry.
Not a Bound for Glory.
I wish I could say that wasn't true, because I really like Kazarian, and I really like his whole like King of NXT or King of TNA thing that he's doing right now, but it's not. It's not a time for, like, clearly it's Nemeth's time, and clearly it's Joe Hendry's time, and they're the two names, like I said, that stuck out as positives from the show. So it's kind of obvious, but like,
do they have Joe win here though? That's the question. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know.
I really don't know if they will. I mean, I could see him winning the NXT title before he won the TNA title,
that's where I'm going to go with, because he, along with Jordan Grace, he is kind of the poster child for this NXT TNA thing right now.
Yes.
So to have him back-to-back fail at the NXT title, fail at the TNA title, it's not going to hurt him, but it's going to hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, it won't ruin him, but it'll definitely hurt.
Because I don't see Joe Hendry going down like nobody that likes Joe Hendry is going to be happy with him going down a peg. So it's not like he's going to go after Mike Bailey and the X Division title. He's not going to.
Yeah.
Although I would love it. I would love to see Joe Hendry versus Obafemi.
Right.
But Obafemi's got his own problems to deal with. So it's one of those. I don't want Nemeth to lose, but I look at it more objectively, and I'm like, Joe Hendry kind of can't lose.
Yeah.
Unless they throw a third person in there, make it a triple threat match because they think it'll make it bigger.
Like if they turn Trick heel, and had him turn, that kind of thing, because he doesn't get the title, so now he goes and stops Joe Hendry from getting it. Like that's the only way I could see them postponing the win, but it does need to happen at some point. And people aren't going to be crazy with that.
You could always set up that like psycho heel Josh Alexander is so broken by the fact that he's the technical wrestler and he lost by submission that he fucks him over, but that's not a great ending for your biggest pay-per-view of the year. No, because you don't really want to
see them face off again. I don't think the money is in them having another go around. So.
I don't know. I'm probably like early prediction here. I'm going to go with Hendry. But
we'll see how it's built
with
and what
this
happens,
WWE with this WWE relationship. There is a rumor float. I don't know how I feel about it. There is a rumor out there that they might throw AJ Styles into this match.
I've heard that as well. That they would let him be Mr. TNA again, and he's not doing anything currently on SmackDown, which he might be in the future when they need more people to fill out that show.
But he's gone and done other things. Like he's been one of the ones we don't talk about for like going off and doing other stuff. So happy for him. And
I just meant on our TV as far as WWE goes. Course, he's not been around since he lost to Cody. So.
And you know what it is? They've kind of muddied the whole like OC story as well. Like. Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson are kind of kicking around NXT with the kids.
Yeah.
Michin is kind of on her own. Michin is kind of being put up as like the number one candidate for this main roster mid-card women's title, which I'd be all okay with. Michin deserves it.
Absolutely.
I hate the name. I wish she was still just Mia Yim, but I think that's
I don't
more
like
of
the
a me
Michin
thing,
title either. I hate it when she brought that in when Keith Lee was still there. I was like, no, don't, no, why?
Remember Keith Lee?
Anyways, the Bearcat.
But no, like if AJ Styles just wants to go and do like, because they're not using him right now, if he just wants to go around to other places and just do some bucket list stuff, why not?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I don't want to say it I don't want to say it disparagingly, but he's like got to be getting towards like how much longer am I doing this type thing.
Yeah, so he's been wrestling for a long time.
Just do some bucket list stuff, and now you're with WWE, who's allowing you to do bucket list stuff. Take advantage of it, and if they don't need you for SmackDown for a month, call around, see who WWE's friendly with, have AJ Styles go and do a Bloodsport match. Why the fuck not?
That would be cool.
But yeah, if they throw him in,
they can have him do.
If they throw him in there, there's no way they're putting the TNA title on him. Now that I've said that, watch them put the TNA title on him.
Yeah, right.
But no, I think as
if
a
he
spoiler,
does lose, then they really have to do something big.
It's true, yeah.
They don't have. They're kind of in the position WWE is with Cody, like, oh, we got to go back to solo because we don't have anybody else really ready-made right now.
Right. Well, if he loses, it might be like they threw him in this match for the night for the nostalgia factor. Somebody takes him out of the match, and then he has a program with them from like Josh Alexander, AJ Styles ain't going to be any kind of bad program.
No.
Or if somebody from WWE says, hey, you've been skipping work, come on over here. Somebody from NXT says, you know what, I'm going to make my name on AJ Styles, and that's without him showing up on one Raw or one SmackDown.
Exactly.
And you're still keeping him in the conversation. I think it's a neat idea, depending on how it turns out. Right now, Nemeth and Joe Hendry is the match. Nemeth and Joe Hendry is the match they have to do for their biggest show, and they've been doing gangbusters attendance this year by their standards, so that's a match that's going to draw. I'm sorry, it is. For all intents and purposes, Joe Hendry versus Dolph Ziggler is the biggest match TNA can give you right now.
Absolutely.
And that's with all due respect to everybody else involved and all the caveats that we have to put on everything, but it is what it is.
That is the money feud. One thing I do want to mention, too, is Wendy Chu has kind of been all over the place. She's been everywhere, and with this, horror gimmick, she's been picking up some new fans and new followers and getting, quite a bit more time to wrestle and under some, great moments as well.
I love the pairing of her and Rosemary.
It fits so well. They work great together. The entrance is good.
And I'm hoping it's not just because Halloween is coming, and then they'll do Halloween Havoc, and we never see Rosemary again, because Rosemary's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer that she can't, for whatever reason, I don't remember what it is right now, she can't use the Decay entrance music on NXT. I think there's some kind of rights thing, so they have her with a little bit more of a generic entrance theme. But it's not hurting anything. I just happen to like the Decay music. I guess it's licensed in a way that they can't share it.
Yeah. Sometimes things are written like only for TNA use or whatever.
Which is fair. And if whoever wrote the music doesn't like WWE for some reason and says, no, then it is what it is. But it really shows how good I think that music is when they give her generic Rock 5, which is pretty standard for WWE these days. And I'm like, I want to... Like, the first time I heard the Rascals music on NXT, I was like, fucking let's go.
Yeah.
And I thought we were going to get a long Rascals run, and that did not happen. But,
shockingly,
the music is still good.
Yeah, damn straight. And that's, they're getting rid of... what's his name? The one they have now as their main Death Rebel. They're going to be getting rid of him supposedly and getting somebody else new in there.
Yeah, supposedly they do have another company on standby that's going to sign a deal with them, but it's going to be on a temporary basis, and they are going to be looking into more licensed music. So we'll see how that goes. I mean,
I love the licensed music because it's songs you love, or a new song even written for that person. And...
But it depends. Again, if we go to, like, we're going to talk about SmackDown in a second. Do I need to hear Megan Thee Stallion as part of my wrestling life? No.
Yeah,
I really
unfortunately.
Don't.
I hate when they bring the rap stuff into it. I always felt like rock and wrestling fit, but rap and wrestling...
There's been a couple of rap things here and there that have worked. I just don't think... like
Run DMC and DX.
The poppy music... Not poppy, but like the pop music doesn't work. It's all like happy, happy, happy while I'm punching you in the face doesn't work. I mean, there's some rap music out there that sounds really like it's not my cup of tea, obviously, but there's some that's like angry and aggressive and whatever, and it works. But I don't want to feel like I'm at the club while I'm watching people beat the shit out of each other.
There's a reason why Slipknot fits so well with that NXT black and gold.
We are not your kind.
Yeah.
And see, I'm not a Slipknot guy. I'm not, but
it worked.
It fit. That's why I say, like, some of the musical...
wording, all of it fit in with the NXT motif and theme at that point. Yep. We are not your kind. We are not your, your main roster, your everyday.
We're the cure for the common roster.
Exactly, and it showed, and it worked, and it was pretty crazy. So, I mean, I like licensed music. I feel like that always brings more, or at least, even when if they can write a song for that person, obviously. Yeah. But if not, they're just going to bring in certain themes. It can work really well, too, if you find something that fits well with the character.
Yep. If it works, right?
Yeah, like, but we're lacking so much passion for the music lately, though. Like
John Cena, I'm never going to buy the John Cena CD, but his music works for him, mostly because it's him.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's rapping himself out to the ring.
The Usos doing the voiceover on their music, both together and separately. Like, it works because it's them.
Exactly.
It's not like... Anyways, before we get completely into the rebranding of SmackDown that we got last Friday, we're going to touch on in a second, which was happening at the same time as Victory Road. I want to get, because I got this after I... Okay, behind the scenes for a second, pulling back the curtain. Before we do a podcast like this, me and Jake, I scribble some shit down, take a picture of it, send it to Jake, and be like, this is kind of what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, here's our tentative notes.
Tentative notes, and by some miracle you can read my writing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't get to write down for that was the rumor that I heard literally 2 hours ago, that when we enter the Netflix era next year, starting in January, Raw moves to Netflix for you guys. I think just about everything moves to Netflix for the rest of the world, which is fine by me.
Yeah.
But apparently, like, SmackDown's staying on USA, and USA is allotting them a third hour starting in January.
So we're going to see Raw go back to 2 hours, and then SmackDown will become 3. So people are saying that, it looks like Raw is going to be 2 hours on Netflix. I don't think they're going to go
I think they've got flex
shows.
I think they've got flex on Netflix. I think what we talked about in the last, literally the last episode of State of Wrestling was, I don't think they're going to have a specific time for Raw. I
think it's just going to be Raw.
I think it's going to be flexible. I think it's going to be however long the show takes, which is fine. If it's an hour and 55 minutes, if it's 3 hours, if it's less, if it's more, if they need to run over, whatever. I don't think it's going to be 2 hours or under very often. I think they'll probably find a happy medium at maybe the 2.5 hour mark.
I can picture Raw being like 2:15 with the overrun, 2:20 even, and then SmackDown continue the 3 with commercials. I don't know how they're going to run commercials on Netflix with all this, but
I don't know either. So we'll see how that goes. But apparently,
and then they have different tiers of Netflix. I mean, I'm happy. Hey,
but I mean,
3 hours we've complained about, but like you said, if you can write a good 2-hour show, you can write a good 3-hour show.
Of
and
course.
SmackDown certainly has the talent and people over there. They've got Cody, they've got Roman, they've got the Bloodline. They can always change a few people for the roster.
But they're going to have to figure out the advertising thing, because if they're running it on USA Network in the States and it's broadcasting on Netflix in the rest of the world, they're going to have to figure out what to do with that commercial gap anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like prime example, like just speaking of Netflix, when you watch anything on Netflix that used to be on regular TV, it's very obvious where the commercial breaks were.
Yeah.
Even sometimes as far as like the music or the oh my god, dun dun dun, big reveal,
the little
and then you come back.
Yeah. Stinger.
So it's going to be fun. SmackDown's like, people are going to watch it. People that watch SmackDown are going to watch SmackDown. As much as people want to tell you, because their shows aren't doing so well, that Friday night is a dead spot, SmackDown's the highest rated show of the week, and TNA's running pay-per-views on Friday. Rampage just sucks.
Yeah.
Even AEW fans say Rampage sucks. But
I guess Shockwave is supposed to replace Rampage.
But I don't think it's going on Friday nights, because it's going on a different channel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Supposedly going to Fox or whatever, right? But I think it's kind of funny, like, we lost. So if you were an AEW and WWE fan and you watched everything available and you were watching SmackDown and then clicking over to Rampage right away, you've still got your 3 hours of wrestling. You've just got 3 hours of better wrestling.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I don't know. I think it's great. It's another case of one of those, if you don't want to watch the third hour, don't watch it. If you don't want to watch the first hour, don't watch it. If you want to watch none of it, if you want to pretend the other company is good, go watch it. Like, I don't care. Raw being downsized is going to feel weird for a bit, not going to lie. But we got the new image of SmackDown, and everybody else said, oh, they got a cool new entrance, but the logo sucks. And I'm the opposite way. I think the logo is actually pretty sweet for any new logo they've come up with in a while, and the music can fuck off. I don't know really what else there is to say. The new logo looks really clean. It looks like a sports logo. I like the fact that when it goes down to just being a logo, it's just the S as opposed to the whole SmackDown icon. I think that's something that they haven't done in a while, and it looks nice. It looks clean. The new graphics are all awesome. Again, though, I come out of, like, obviously we've got the tag match announced for Bad Blood.
Yeah.
But other than, hey guys, check out the new show, like, there's some specific stuff we're going to talk about, but as a whole, did it feel like a brand new show, like this is something we've never seen before? No, it kept up its typical good quality, and they put a new coat of paint on it, and the new coat of paint looks pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just turn the music off.
Yeah. Hey, I like it. I'm happy if they're going to go back to 3 hours, because SmackDown certainly probably should be the 3-hour show at this point, I think.
Probably.
And, I mean, they're going to have one of them be for 3 hours, so if not both. I mean, they really could go ahead and put both shows as 3 hours if they wanted to. I mean,
but
they
really need to like space out the shows a bit better. To have two clustered up at the beginning of the week and then one by itself at the end of the week, it's not really that great. I mean, you could shift NXT around a little bit. Like, you could have one every other day, do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Everybody will be happy.
I think that was the original plan, right? And then Dynamite and...
Well, Dynamite came in to, like, harpoon WWE, and everybody got sad when it didn't work. But yeah, it's the first week, and like I say, I was splitting my attention between that and Victory Road. We've got the tag match. Some other stuff. Triple H came out to kick off the show, and everybody's like, oh my god, look at the ego on him. And I'm like,
he does this every time. Every season premiere,
I don't care, though. Like, let him do it. It takes 5 minutes.
Yeah, but what's the harm? Exactly. It's good. People like Triple H. They want to see him. If you don't like him, then guess what? Wait a minute and skip past it, or mute your TV for a second.
People spent... Here's the thing. For, like, diehard Fed heads, right? We spent so much time liking WWE, loving WWE, despite who was running it.
Yes.
Now we're liking WWE because of, well, not because, partially because of the people running it.
Yeah.
So give that opportunity for us to show, or us, the fans in general, to show the appreciation, and let that person feel that appreciation. It doesn't hurt anybody unless you're one of the people that weirdly hates Triple H.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It's just, I don't know. I got nothing. He came out, he started off the show, he said, "Are you ready?" And then we got on with the cage match, and the cage match was meh, because it was
okay.
It was prefaced to set up the tag match. The tag match is going to be a lot of fun. I always think it's funny when two members of a faction go into a tag match, and it's not the two members of the faction that are an actual tag team. It's like in DX, if there was a tag team coming at DX and Triple H and X-Pac answered them instead of the Outlaws. And that's kind of what you got right now, because like Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Gorillas of Destiny are a tag team. They come out like a tag team, they dress like a tag team, the whole bit. But to have Solo and Jacob, I know the story is there. Solo's worried about Jacob like overshadowing him. Solo's kind of sucking at being a pretend Roman Reigns. That's the story. At the same time, what do you do with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa? I really like Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. I think they're hilarious. I don't know if they're trying to be hilarious, but they are. It's going to be a good match. It's a decent addition to Bad Blood. But a couple of things I've got on here that I just wanted to talk about, because these couple of things never make it to pay-per-view anymore, and it means we don't really get to talk about them much. So, quick one. Even though they've got an NXT Tag Team Championship match in a couple of weeks, we're building towards the split of A-Town Down Under.
Yeah, so, I mean, we saw kind of the start of this happening and how it was, transpiring, and we knew something was going to come of it, but I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot. Their run with the titles was short-lived. Yeah, I feel like they could have done more with them with that, and they're good as that, like you said, comeuppance heel, where it's like, oh, we need somebody out there to get their ass beat by the, visiting or returning star. John Cena's back. He can take out Grayson Waller on his TV show. And I feel like Grayson Waller's had more of the shine, while Austin Theory's taken more of the back seat to everything that's going on.
Austin Theory, I don't think a lot of people were buying for a long time. I think Grayson Waller coming along to make a tag team with him kind of saved him a little bit, because they gave him the Cena win, they gave him the U.S. title, and nobody was really buying it. And then Grayson Waller came in, and whether you like him, whether you don't like him, the guy touches a nerve to the certain part of the audience, and he's got charisma for days.
He's good at pissing people off.
Austin Theory being almost his straight man kind of saved him a little bit. Like, if Theory had never come up and Grayson Waller came up solo and you gave him the U.S. title and you gave him the win over John Cena, I think he would have taken it and ran with it.
Yeah, I think
but
you're right there.
Theory got kind of like zoned in. He was in with all the Vince stuff. Remember when they had the story with the egg?
Yeah. Oh God.
Was that?
And then he had to basically, deal with the stuff with Pat, and then you got to lose repeatedly, and it wasn't great. So.
Vince took the worst stunner in captivity.
Literally, I thought Linda's was bad. His is worse somehow.
I think Linda got a bigger pop way back 20 years ago when she kicked him in the nuts.
Absolutely.
Rising up out of the chair at Mania and such
and
such.
Oh, I mean, she was catatonic for weeks in a drugged state.
Here's the thing, though, right, is people are saying that Austin Theory is going to get sick of Grayson Waller's shit because Grayson Waller's been throwing him under the bus and whatever. So Grayson Waller will be the face that finally fights back. That's not going to work because people didn't buy him in the first place.
Yeah,
and
I don't feel like a face that people
and I don't want
cheer
Grayson
for.
Waller to turn face because everybody loves him, but they love him as the heel that he's playing.
Yeah, I don't think he could be that like quirky, wall-breaking, like here's the joke and have him still survive. I don't think that would work well.
If they tried to keep him the way he is right now, but babyface, I think it would come off as almost like you're really trying hard to be Deadpool and you're not Deadpool.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was
Sorry, you mentioned
to
the fourth wall break, and that's the thing that comes in mind to me. Because you know who's the great babyface for breaking the fourth wall is Kevin Owens.
Yes.
He's the one that comes up and says, "You can't come out here and interrupt me yet. They haven't even played your music. I haven't even said your name yet." Like, he does that well. And Kevin Owens inside wrestling, making fun of wrestling is...
And him being partners with Ricky this week was great. That was really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sold so well and
I
funny.
almost wish they had run with it. I kind of
do too. I want to see what they were going to do with Ricky.
All due respect to Randy Orton. Obviously, the guy's a fucking beast. And if you're the comeuppance heel, like a Theory or a Waller, and you see, oh, by the way, your other opponent is Randy Orton, it's like, well, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
When
exactly.
Randy Orton came back last year at Survivor Series as the last member of Team Cody, and he was all fucking jacked as shit and all that, kind of got totally overwashed by the other guy that came back that night.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, you forget
like,
that he came back that night because of somebody else returning.
The guy's but Orton's a machine. But it would have been funnier if Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens has been fighting these two guys with and without Randy Orton
for ages now.
So like, Kevin Owens smacking the shit out of both of them and like sticking somebody in the corner just to say, okay, yeah, technically I had a partner, but I didn't need it. I beat them both. That's a cool moment for Kevin Owens.
Could have had Ricky do one kind of like hot tag and do
not even make the whole joke that like, yeah, I got you as a partner because they told me I had to have a partner. Sit there and shut up.
And he never tags him,
and he just wins a handicap match. That's a cool moment for Kevin Owens, whereas the other
goes
side
for the hot tag, doesn't do it repeatedly. Like,
exactly. Yeah. But you get him and Randy Orton, who are both main eventers, both former world champions and all that, and they beat Theory and Waller, and everybody kind of sits back and says, well, yeah, of course they did.
Yeah, now what?
It's awesome because it's like the double stunner RKO spot, the double suspension DDT, all the tandem stuff that Kevin Owens and Randy Orton are doing are a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
I just love Kevin Owens sitting in the back of a wrestling locker room being frustrated about wrestling.
Yeah, and I mean, what are they going to do with this? Are they going to go for the tag titles? Are they going to, that's kind of the thing too. What's the end game here?
Who, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens?
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's just like they've established that they're friends. They've established that Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes are friends. Basically, it's the opposite of when the other guy was in charge, and it's like, oh, babyfaces always get their asses handed to them because babyfaces don't have friends, and it's weird.
Yeah,
like, I think just very loosely in the background, new WWE is just like, no, good people look out for other good people, and that's what you do. Works. I don't think it has to be something official.
No,
as that. I don't think they need Kevin Owens and Randy Orton to go for the tag titles. I don't think that's a thing. And as we said, as was announced on.
I don't think you need them to, but I certainly think it could be good to have them challenge, the new Bloodline for their titles, and certainly could help extend that reign.
Maybe you do it along the way, building towards Survivor Series and War Games, just to say, hey, here's two people from this team going against two people from this team. But I think that's just because Kevin Owens wants to go and show how many people he can punch at once, not because he wants another tag title run.
And I guess one of the issues that they might not even have the Bloodline Civil War in War Games. I guess Meltzer and a few others were talking recently that it might be Judgment Day for the men. Doing, both sides of that. Damian Priest will get his group together.
And see, what the thing is with that is, if they're going to do something with that, I was thinking, like, the Bloodline was going to be the men's match, and then the women's match from Raw would be, like, a women's War Games, like Team Rhea versus Team Liv. I think I'm almost more intrigued by that. There's so many people that have been off with injury that could, like, just be making their comeback in November.
Yeah, there's a lot of females that are missing and...
Like, to say that, like, okay, Damage Control are babyface now, which, okay, sure.
Yeah, because they just are.
I mean, they just are, but, like, who wants
They didn't do anything to turn face, they're just face.
Yeah, but who wants, like, we are getting to the point now where always one of them is injured, so, like, them trying to do, like, what?
A three-way thing, yeah. That was one of the things we discussed weeks back with Dakota Kai being like, hey, is she still able to go because she's just always with the same knee injury? Like, is it worth bringing her back? And obviously she herself is worth something, but
of course,
can she stay healthy long enough to actually compete and be worthwhile?
But you can. Well, my point is, you can pick up feuds that already exist. Like, you've got the Damage Control versus the Kentucky Fried Coalition or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Like, you put the three of them. You put the three of them with Liv. You put the two of them with Rhea, and says, "Oh, I'm also here to announce a return," and there you get the return of, like, somebody like a Shotzi Blackheart.
Yep.
Apparently,
or
Shotzi
Charlotte.
Or Charlotte, but people are gonna people are going to be weird about Charlotte. So I'm always worried. I would love to see Charlotte back. People are going to be weird about it. It's going to be fine. They'll have to play up the history between Rhea and Charlotte if they do that. Yeah. I just heard recently this week, apparently Shotzi has actually gone to personally purchase the copyright to her full name, Shotzi Blackheart. So she might go back to having her full name again. So that's a cool little side note. I just want to see
I wonder if she's worried that she might be being let go and needs to have her name again, own that rights too. That kind of makes you question.
Yeah, but I like what WWE is doing now with people that own their names.
Yeah, letting them keep it.
Well, letting them keep it, but it's like we own your name temporarily for marketing and like merchandising while you're here, and then when you leave, you take it with you. I think that's the most fair thing ever. I don't know how it wasn't a thing before.
I know, I can understand sometimes, like, all right, you came in and we're going to make you John Cena. You weren't on the indies as John Cena.
No, if it's a name they created, different story. But I'm talking about if they come in
when somebody
with a
comes
name.
It was always baffling.
Like somebody like we all freaked out about. We all freaked out about in NXT when Samoa Joe came into NXT and got to be Samoa Joe, and then he left and he's still Samoa Joe. Like, that should be the thing. If it was created by WWE, different story. Different story. I don't think The Undertaker can go to AEW and be The Undertaker. Like, he'd be the Grave Digger or something.
Mean Mark again.
Oh, my God. Mean Mark the Grave Digger. And he's going to have a casket match with Darby Allin.
That's right.
They're going to have railroad spikes on his fucking face or something.
Don't you pour change on my bike.
Oh, fucking hell.
Everybody's obsessed with quarters.
No. Remember the last time they did something with coins? It was just as bad.
And then they still had him try to punch him with a handful of quarters. Come on.
Well, they've got Moxley being a skinhead now and beating up. Yeah. Moving on. I don't want to get canceled for just talking about what AEW is doing that's bad. Speaking of tag team splits, the New Day, the one we thought we would never see.
Yeah, they've been building to this, and it is very intriguing when you think about it. I mean, Xavier Woods never got that main event spot.
Yep.
He's been tag champs. They had their nice reign and all that, but it always was Kofi and Big E as the main focal points. And he does kind of have a logical gripe there. Hey, you're not telling me the plan. First, you got Odyssey Jones getting fired and helping us. Then you're going to go ahead and have
I was going to say it is
in.
a weird character thing for Kofi, because Kofi's going to be played off as the good guy in this.
Yeah.
So why is Kofi suddenly being secretive? It would make more sense if Woods was being secretive about something, if he's clearly the one that's going to turn heel. They have to sort of round out that square a little bit. But, no, I think it's good. And everybody's like, oh, see, we had one example of a team that never broke up and WWE has to do it. And it's like, no. New Day proved you can stay together for 10 years. That's why
breaking up.
That's why this right now will be super effective, and it's not going to last long.
Yeah, and because they didn't break up, and I think it might be where Big E comes back. Now, not to wrestle, but they'll get him involved in the end of the story. I think that'll be the payoff. But
I don't think that's going to be the payoff. I think that's going to be the inciting incident. I think these two guys are going to be fighting, and before anything can happen, Big E's going to come in like as a guest for the night or whatever. He'll be like heavily advertised or whatever, and like he'll try to play peacemaker, and what'll actually like blow everything up is Woods will get sick of it and he'll attack Big E.
Because, see, I originally said I would like to see him attack Big E, but I didn't know if he could take anything or take any moves.
Do what Drew McIntyre and Punk did in Chicago when they did the whole beat down behind the door. You didn't actually see anything. You just carried his body back in. Like, there's ways to get around that, for sure.
Oh, certainly.
But I think with the way people love the New Day, like, if the New Day split up, the anger will be on Woods, not because he turned on Kofi, but because by him leaving, you're taking the New Day away from the fans. Like, it's a different layer to it.
Absolutely.
No, but I think it'll be really good, and everybody loves Big E. Everybody wants Big E back. People are shitting all over Ridge Holland still, which they shouldn't. But
no, I mean, as awful as an accident as it was, and we thought then, like, oh no, he'll be back. He as bad as they say it is, and for him
it was pretty bad, man.
I mean, my neck is fused. I know what it's like, and that is not a good feeling at all whatsoever.
Big E's a big dude, and he was thrown by a pretty powerful dude, and
onto his head. Yeah,
obviously your sympathy is with Big E. This is an old topic now. Like, obviously your sympathy is with Big E, but I can't imagine being Ridge Holland.
No, you end his
I
career.
can't imagine being Ridge Holland.
And think about how many people have had that happen to them throughout
Yeah.
time, like Samoa Joe and Tyson Kidd, and it's like there's no ill will, no bad.
Yeah, but you know what? This is where
happen.
this is where you get the sliding scale. If you hurt somebody, it's bad. If you hurt somebody that we all really like, you're worse. Like,
yeah,
that's the unfair bit of it.
Certainly,
it's bad, and I'm sure like everybody that's worth listening to has given him some kind of advice, some kind of support. Hey, maybe try this instead of doing that. Like, the moving parts have already moved. He's done some stuff like they're trusting him in NXT with people less experienced than him now.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
like he must have shown them something. WWE's
must
not
have
that
had
stupid.
something they liked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, not even something that they like. Just like he must have made some kind of progress.
Yeah, some type of impression that they say like, hey, we can do this with you. Absolutely.
The thing is, though, the two things I've always wanted to say about this, like, kudos to the New Day for staying together as long as they have in a system that never used to do that.
No, certainly.
But
how many times did we think they would turn on each other? My goodness, and then it just kind of became the running joke, and like, oh, they're never gonna split.
But
It
was the tag team version of Kane telling John Cena to embrace the hate, which was never going to happen. John Cena was never going to turn heel. People that tried to split up the New Day were like, that's never going to happen.
Exactly.
But there's two things to come out of this. Is one, I'm really interested in what a Xavier Woods Kofi Kingston match looks like. That's the simple one, right? But
because we know what a three-way looks like with Xavier Woods, but just a one-on-one match.
Yeah, but I also I just got that. God damn it.
Damn it.
But the other part of it is, too, and this is sort of, I'm venturing into my own opinion here, they had two opportunities to choose somebody from the New Day to make into a world champion. And I'm sorry, in my personal opinion, they chose wrong twice.
See, I'm with you. I was not big into Kofi Mania. Not that Kofi didn't have it, but Kofi always felt like a great IC title holder to me. He never felt like that main champ. I always thought it should have been Xavier Woods and Big E. Consequences Creed and all the stuff we've seen of him before.
Kofi Kingston is in a weird spot. He's above the Intercontinental Championship, I would say. But he's
at least how they have the title structured now, it feels more befitting of what he would be.
You don't typically use this word in a positive way, but I'm using it in a positive way. He is the absolute tip-top of the mid-card gatekeeper.
Yes.
And there's a role for that. Like, he is if you are somebody from the mid-card that's trying to break into the main title picture, he is your final boss before you get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And might make me super unpopular, but Big E's kind of the same. To me, I'm saying this. This does not represent the opinions of my good co-host here, or the IWC in general, or YouTube.
I can totally see why, though, and it makes sense because they always structured him to be of the same way. It was really like, hey, this is what you're doing. This is, and they were constantly like the amoral good guys, like, to the utmost extent, and it was like, all right, you guys can have a little bit of realism about you. I know you want to be, the power of positivity and all that, but you got your asses kicked and you lost your titles. You shouldn't be dancing with Cheerios still.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So they kind of did them dirty for a while, and Big E suffered for that because, he started as a heel, and then when he was NXT champ, with the 5 count and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, this guy's
the 5 count thing was really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I'm like, this guy is going to be it. They have plans for him, and then he came in and kind of helped Dolph for a little bit, and then he just kind of waned.
The funny thing is,
the New Day.
You mentioned him in NXT, and he doesn't nearly have the size, so this is a funny comparison to make. They booked him back then as what they're doing with Obafemi now.
Yes,
they booked
absolutely.
him as that kind of force, and he didn't have nearly the size, nearly the height, the muscle mass, etc., and it was still effective. They presented him as that, and then he came in and they did New Day was supposed to be like the preacher thing, and then they took it and made it comedy instead.
Because at first it was
I really
want to gimmick. They were trying to get anger from the fans and be like, no, we need to boo you guys. And they told Vince
it wasn't going to work.
Yep. They knew.
I want to see the match. I don't want them to be split long term.
No.
Run for maybe a year with each one of them trying individual runs, and then do a KO Sammy hug a year from now. That's fine. I just want to have,
that'd be great.
or just, because they're doing this stuff with TNA now, be like, I am so sick of everything that we've done. I'm sick of everything that I've been since I've been here. I'm even sick of my fucking name. And he goes back to Consequences Creed for a couple of months.
Yeah. Could be great.
Who did he tag team with in TNA? Pac-Man Jones. Bring in Pac-Man Jones for a night.
Right.
It'll be good.
Exactly.
Anyways,
honestly, we get them all in there.
It'll be fun. It'll be good times. I'm going to skip over the next two unless you really have something you want to say about it. Andrade and Carmelo.
Andrade needs a mouthpiece, sadly. I feel like his promos are still lacking.
You know what it is? With this one specifically, and Melo is good on the mic. Andrade's not good on the mic, Melo is good on the mic, and I don't care about either of those things, because what these guys are doing right now on SmackDown, if you go back several years when Raw was shit, you knew every Monday night they were going to give us another round of Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy.
Yep,
and
or
Humberto
Carrillo versus
Andrade. No. Just specifically the run that they did with Aleister and Buddy, because they just kept doing it, and because there was no reason for it, but because the matches were just good.
Yeah, they just had them keep doing it.
I love those. They kept on running it back.
Okay, I can see why, but
I liked it. I thought it was one of those. There was a lot of Monday Night Raws back then where it's like, okay, we're doing Aleister and Buddy again. I still don't know why. I still don't get it. I'm still pretty sure there's no story, but whatever. These guys, Melo came in kind of flat compared to how he was in NXT. Well, he's coming off the big marquee loss to Trick Williams for one thing. Andrade came back over from AEW, and we didn't quite know where we were going to get from him. And they just kind of threw them together one night, and it's like, okay, this is going to be a match.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, Carmelo's just going to do like a bitchy thing until he beats him, and then they do another match and it's better, and another match and it's better, and another match and it's better. And it became a best of 5 without them ever announcing that there was going to be a best of 5.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome. And the light at the end of the tunnel was a title shot at LA Knight that I think is happening tomorrow.
I believe it's still happening. So.
It's happening tomorrow, I think.
Okay, I thought so.
I could be wrong, but I think it's happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. I don't think the title's changing hands, because I think it's Andrade that won, and I think Melo's going to fuck him, and they're going to have a 6th match. Maybe the SmackDown before or the SmackDown after Bloodline. Or, not Bloodline, Bad Blood.
Yes, I know what you meant. And here's the thing as well, though. At that time, we needed that Aleister, Buddy match, because a lot of the wrestling that we were getting, the story was all bad throughout the night of Raw. All 3 hours pretty much had bad
that was the
story.
thing, too. Like, this is where I say every now
and then... So
they
were a highlight, then.
Every now and then, occasionally, there is a novelty to a match that's just happening for match's sake.
Yeah.
And they made the match for match's sake something that happened every couple of weeks or so. But those two had such a specific dynamic between the two of them that it just worked. And I was like, sure, give me more of that.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any real explanation. That. Now, that doesn't happen a lot. I think it's starting to happen with these two.
Gotcha. See, for me, we passed that point where we need, good match for match's sake, and I'm more into, like, I can get a good match on just about any show now. I need story to keep me involved. So these two, it's been a bit lacking, like, the best of 5 thing.
But because
of
the way,
cool.
because of the, like, this is where I think they get the free pass, though, because this sort of became a best of 5 without ever really being announced as one, but they started sort of saying, hey, remember, he's up by 1, he's 1-2, and he's only, like, they didn't tell you a whole bracket, they told you where they sit with each other before each match. So I think that in this case, and this is why I use the Aleister and Buddy comparison, just the series of matches itself becomes the story. Doesn't happen a lot, doesn't work a lot. I'm giving it to them here, though.
Because for a while there, we got those, like, Humberto Carrillo and Hector Garza every week, and Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy every week, and we kind of got just Seth Rollins taking, like, it was the same match over and over and over again. Thankfully,
remember when Seth was the Monday Night Messiah, and he had that weird collection of people? What was it? It was Theory. It was Buddy Murphy and AOP at one point.
Yep. He started in the van, turning around like a evil Bond henchman that, never graduated villain camp. He did that quick reveal. He turns around the chair with the laugh. And, ha, 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 ha,
It's about as good as the Where To, Teddy.
Yes. But at least that's iconic for its own reason.
All right. One thing we've got to look forward to next week on Raw, though. and this is going to really divide people, I think, because I think people are either in one camp or the other. I'm just looking forward to the match itself. Is Jey Uso getting his shot at Braun Breaker in the Intercontinental Championship.
And they have built this up for weeks.
This is going to be a lot of fun.
So they had 2 weeks worth of, contenders matches to reach the Fatal 4-Way to then have the match. They have gone ahead and sold this quite well. Here's the thing. How many times can Main Event Jay lose repeatedly and get his ass beat? But then again, do you see Braun Breaker lose this quickly? So it is something...
Well, that's what I was gonna say, right? Because Main Event Jay going for a mid-card title is kind of contradictory. People have said it. I kind of agree. It doesn't really bother me that much. Jay's over his shit. Jay, Priest.
Yeah, it's just a moniker to me. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Oh, I know, but it's just it's funny.
Some people get upset over everything, but.
Oh no, but like people pointing it out as hey, like this is a thing. I'm like, haha, I guess that's a thing. But I mean, Jay and Priest and Rhea. Unless CM Punk is on the show, they're the 3 most over people on the roster on Raw.
Exactly,
like they really are. So, but here's
that's why I didn't understand the critic. Like I could see what Rikishi's getting at here. Oh, my son should have been champion. Maybe, yeah. But then again, too, like look at him. There's a story to tell. And when he does win, it's going to be that much sweeter.
You remember what I said before Cody came along? The whole downfall of the bloodline should have been Jay beating Roman at WrestleMania, but everybody told me I was crazy, so I guess I'm crazy.
That was the real story. That's how it started off. He made Jay join him by taking out Jimmy.
Jay and Roman started the bloodline, and everything else that happened after that was because he said, hey, I can gaslight this guy, maybe I can gaslight more people.
Exactly.
Thing is, and you kind of hit it on the head already, there's 2 different stories here. Oh my God, Jay's been here for so long and he's never had a chance like this at Singles Gold. How can they not give it to him? And on the other side, oh my God, Braun Breaker's this brand new guy right out of the blocks and he's already got himself a title on his shoulder. He's already got NXT glory in his back pocket. How could they possibly take it off of him? Each side is how could they possibly, which makes the match a lot more fun.
Exactly.
I really
has Any Given Sunday feel.
I really like Braun Breaker. I don't think him losing hurts him, and selfishly, I want Jay to grab that title because I want by the time they get to War Games, if it is Bloodline versus Bloodline, I want him.
Which I think it will be.
I think you got to do a lot of really weird booking to make a men's War Games match work for the split of Judgment Day, because that team would only have Damian Priest on it.
Exactly.
Maybe Jay, yeah. But I mean, they've already brought up Jay and what he's done since leaving his family behind, and what a better symbol than to walk back into the family feud with a singles piece of gold over his shoulder.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm more than that, though. I think the match is going to be fantastic. I think the promo they did this past week on Raw, for people that say, oh, Jay's not really a good promo, all he does is yeet, like, fuck off. And on the other side of that coin, Braun Breaker's been on the main roster for a cup of coffee, and he held up his end of the promo. So, fuck off.
That spear he did on Jay, my God, that was brutal. What a freaking spear. Yep. I mean, Braun already runs at fucking 30 miles an hour anyway, so...
Countering a spear with a spear is the old Roman and Edge thing. Oh, they're just going to hit heads. And I'm like, if that happened once, it would be kind of funny, but whatever. I did like, if you go backwards in the Bloodline story, when it was the Usos taking on Roman and Solo, when the Usos were using the double spear as a finisher for a little bit, I thought that was really good. I mean, they were moderating between that and using the 1D.
Yeah.
But the double spear was a pretty cool spot. So now it's just Jay doing the spear, which is... absolutely fine. I think the match is going to be great. I
wish Jay could just kind of refresh his repertoire, his move set, because it's pretty much one move and about 30 super kicks, and he's still kind of.
Don't you know if you do nothing but super kicks, you can change the business trademark.
You could be the tag champs and the EVPs if you keep kicking.
Anyways,
kicking.
It's one of those, like, if Breaker wins, I'll be happy for him, because, like, definitely he's one of the new projects. Happy for the guy.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I kind of want Jay to win this.
I see that. I want to see Jay lose more than anything.
Yeah.
Clean, and let them tell the story of it. Maybe I'm not main event. Maybe I'm not. I think they could find something.
Oh yeah.
There too.
Do what they're doing on NXT right now with Tony D'Angelo.
With the Rocky 3. Exactly. They're doing Rocky 3.
I think
right
that's
in front
so
of
good,
CM
and I
Punk.
think it's a risky story to tell, especially with characters that not everybody's on board with to begin with, to have the
Certainly.
character go through the story and doubting himself and whatever. They could do it with somebody like Jay. I'm surprised they're doing it, first of all, in NXT, where, yes, a lot of it is silly because some of us like fun, and with a character like the Mafia Don.
Yeah, and they're doing it in front of CM Punk, the Rocky 3 story, knowing he's never seen Rocky.
The conspiracy theory that WWE is doing nothing but test CM Punk to see how much they can do before he fucks up.
When does he snap?
It's like, yeah, but it's WWE. It's not AEW. We don't do that here. I want to do like the Black Panther head tilt. No. We don't do that here.
I mean, they even did the thing with Tony D with like, oh, we got his girl. We got Adrian coming in, and going to give him the pep talk, and it's like, oh, this is.
I think the whole thing's really good.
They've done a great job with it.
I think it's really good.
I can't beat him. He's a monster.
In a positive way, I did not expect to see them try something like that on NXT.
Granted, yeah. No, I agree
I think
entirely.
it's really cool. It might fall down, but I'll still applaud them for trying. Speaking of NXT, 2 more quick stories from NXT, because I know you got to head out in a couple of minutes. One is something that everybody's laughing about, but I actually think is a really good idea. Tickets are selling really good for the Chicago show. I think
they added more recently, so they added 500 more.
Yeah, I think they're at like the 5,500 range for the Chicago show. Not doing so hot for the St. Louis show. So they've moved the venue to a smaller venue to make it more representative of the amount of tickets they have sold and amount of tickets that they think they will sell. They've moved it to a smaller building.
And they announced Randy Orton as well, so hopefully that'll push ticket sales.
And we're going to talk about that in a second as well. But for the people out there, they're like, oh, this is only their second show and they're already taking an L. It's like, no, they're predicting a smaller crowd and they're going to an appropriate building.
Exactly, they're acting accordingly.
Would I love it if they were filling out a full building? Of course. Like,
of course,
I'm not going to lie, but like you can do it accordingly.
Better than them being in denial.
Well, yeah, like I think it's like they're selling 2,000 seats and they've moved to like a 3,000 or 4,000 seat arena. 2,000 people in a 3,000 seater arena, or 2,000 people in a 20,000 seater arena.
Exactly. You're going to have empty seats everywhere and the tarps and.
Yeah, and I mean the first show is in Chicago. And I'm sorry, my limited knowledge of the United States, I'm just, a silly old Canuck up here. Pretty sure Chicago is a bigger wrestling city than St. Louis.
Yeah.
I'm going on a guess there. I'm going on, don't want to say it, but maybe CM Punk's a bigger draw than Randy Orton. Who knows?
It seems to be. And they announced Punk a few weeks ago that he'd be there. They just announced Randy. And
oh no! When they first announced that they were doing road shows, they announced both names with both places.
Did they? I thought they. Oh, because they just announced his opponent. That's what it was. So we just found out that
they announced his opponent.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he has an opponent, to be quite honest with you. But no, like if you went to
that's what my confusion was.
And I'm sorry, this is where I kind of have to say, if WWE doesn't come to your town, take a look at what happened last time they did come to your town. If nobody came, then they're not going to come.
Exactly, yeah, and they're starting to do that because they have less shows. They're being more picky, and they're not returning to the same markets over and over and over. No. And seeing the diminishing, loss of diminishing returns, like we see now with Grand Slam.
But look where they go all the time, though. Chicago, Toronto, Philadelphia, Vancouver, Montreal.
New York, it sells well, so they return. Exactly.
And I mean, like, on the business side, they've got certain pretty sweet working relationships with certain venues. Like, let's not pretend that that's not also a thing.
Oh, absolutely.
But they're going to go where they're received. They're going to watch their analytics on YouTube and see who's clicking on their videos. They're going to check Twitter and see the algorithms of who's talking about us. Okay, there's 75 million people talking about us over here. There's 25 million people talking about us over here. Maybe here we do a pay-per-view. Maybe there we do a house show. Like, it's realistic. But if you shot your shot and it wasn't working and you moved to a smaller building so that the building fits and
it does what you're intending it to do.
And I'm not saying this as a dig. This is the one thing I'm going to say about AEW that's not a dig. You don't have terrible crowds. You have crowds that look small because you keep shooting at big buildings.
Exactly.
Remember back in the day when you and Joe used to do the Time to Lay the Tarps.
Yeah.
And I went to Scotiabank Arena, and I was staring at black tarps, and I sent you the picture, and I posted the picture, and I did what WWE fans have always done. It says, hey, this is my thing that I like, but my thing that I like needs to step its shit up.
Yeah.
Too bad other fan bases can't really do that. No, but genuinely, I wish they were selling better. I wish they didn't have to do this, but with the situation that they're in, I'm glad they did. I think it's
Grand
really
Slam
smart
did
move on their part.
20,000, 10,000, 8,000, and now 5,000. It's continually gone down. Like I said, diminishing returns. And instead of saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't come back to Arthur Ashe, maybe they have an agreement there. I don't know, but I thought they were going to Australia anyway this year. But like you said,
Australia's next year.
Instead of adjusting and being like, hey, this is the plan, let's do this, this, and this, and let's go to wherever else, Nassau, that would be smaller kind of idea. Instead, they just continue with the bullshit, and now you get a 20,000-seat arena with 5,000 fans. It doesn't sound great, and there's problems, and you have, a bunch of quiet spots where people are sitting on their hands because you can't get 5,000 people to fill the sound of a 20,000-seat arena.
And you know what it is? People react to what's happening in front of them, but people also react to what's happening around them.
Yes.
It's hard to, and I will say this as, like I say, somebody that sat at SmackDown when SmackDown wasn't doing so great, when the only guy that got cheered all night was Jinder Mahal because we were in Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to get excited when you're staring at empty seats. Smaller building, look across the arena, see other people that are just as excited as you.
Reacting.
You'll see the people, you won't see the empty seats. I'm sorry, if anybody tells me that does not have a psychological effect on the experience of the show that you're watching, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, they had an issue with Texas for TakeOver, so they brought TakeOver 25 to Connecticut, and they went to Bridgeport, and it's a tiny arena. They didn't go to Hartford, they didn't go, that type of thing. And Bridgeport is much smaller, but it worked out great for that crowd. For, like you said, sold out, people hanging off the rafters, going nuts for Adam Cole when he's the heel. It was like, we had this great night. And
when I was down in Toronto for Money in the Bank weekend, did I mention that I was at all three shows? Anyways, SmackDown was nice and full. Money in the Bank was nice and full. Heatwave wasn't. And
surprisingly.
I wouldn't say it was in half, but it was pretty damn close. And everybody was sharing around, oh, you say this and that about this and that, what about this? And I'm like, well, first of all, I say that it's a developmental show trying to run an event in the same show that the main show ran in last night. Yeah. Second of all, nobody's denying the tarps. Like, nobody's denying this picture that you are sending that you think is some big expose.
Like they were years ago, yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, Money in the Bank, it's not officially, but kind of unofficially, is one of the big five now.
Yes.
It's not a big, shocking, like I say, news expose to say that NXT Heatwave sold less tickets than Money in the fucking Bank for the first time ever in Toronto. It's not. And I would look at that. I acknowledge that. I mean, I had fun anyway. But, like, I was giving the side eye to the empty seats. Like, it's a thing. Why are we pretending that it's not a thing? If we were able to... Honestly, and I already had my ticket anyway, so I wouldn't have cared. If we did SmackDown at Scotia, and if we did Money in the Bank at Scotia, and they looked at the numbers for Heatwave, and they moved Heatwave literally across the road to the Rico, where they do their house shows and whatnot, I think it would have been better.
I think
it would have been better. I think they sold more still than what Rico holds. I'd have to check the numbers on that. But if they were comparable, I would have suggested the move. Just make the announcement on the night. Make the announcement for the majority of the people that had like group tickets to all three shows and say, hey, we've moved Heatwave over to the Rico. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And it's a smaller building, so it's going to be louder. And I think getting back to the CW stuff, the CW Night 2 on October 8th is going to benefit from it.
Absolutely.
I want to reiterate it one more time. Do I wish they didn't have to do this? Do I wish that they were selling like they were selling in Chicago? Yes. But they're
absolutely.
not. But they're not. You got to deal with what you're given. I fully tip my cap to whoever's ultimate decision that was. On that second night, though, Randy Orton is facing Javon Evans.
Yeah, crazy that's the tweet came out right after the match, and Javon was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm down." It was almost like a surprise, like he didn't know.
I would
love it if that was the case.
I would love it. Yeah. I would really love for that to be the case. I would love to hear a story like when they do a documentary 10 years from now, the Javon Evans story when he's got his like 10th WWE title or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember being back in NXT and it's surrounded by everybody in the Performance Center, and they told me live and in living color that I was going to be facing Randy Orton, and that was what set me off onto my way or whatever. I would love to hear that that's true. And you get the feeling right now that WWE is the kind of place where those kind of good moments can happen.
Yeah, and you've seen it firsthand. We've seen these things occur, and they like to do these kind of things lately. And that's one thing that you and I really appreciate: the genuine, basically like the genuineness, the real in that moment. That's what you and I always strive to see. The people come out from the characters, and in that moment, it seemed like he was ready to go, but he looked so excited, and that to me was like, I really hope that he didn't know beforehand, because he certainly sold it that way.
I agree. I think they had to announce something because of the ticket sales in St. Louis, so there is that side of it as well. But what a better choice! What
a great discussion there to have. Does he win? Does he lose? Do you have him be beaten and it's you're a rookie, but you'll get him next time, or do you have him beat Orton? It's like, it was that Ungiven Sunday. I came out on top because you undermined and underestimated what I could do. I mean, there's a lot of
what I would love, because he's a high flyer, right? Obviously, Javon Evans, amazing. I know you've mentioned a lot that he's losing a lot, but he's over his shit.
Exactly.
Right? What I would love is, because what's Randy Orton? He does the whole out of nowhere thing, right? So I would love if they could. I don't even know how this would work physically. If Javon Evans goes for some kind of high flying move, Orton tries to snatch him out of midair, and Javon somehow keeps going through the move, through the RKO, and still hits whatever he's doing.
That would be great.
So, I got out of your out of nowhere. I don't know what that spot would even look like, though. But
I bet you if anybody, they could pull it off.
But speaking of what things look like, and I'm going to start doing this when we have the time on the show. We don't always have something to look forward to every single weekend, but we do have stuff on the horizon.
Yes. 5
nights we have to look forward to. The 2 CW nights, plus Bad Blood, Bound for Glory, and Halloween Havoc. There's nothing for Halloween Havoc just yet, but
they'll be building that very soon. Once we get to the CW, they'll really full steam ahead for that.
But let me just throw a whole pile of stuff at you. NXT Night 1. We got Miz doing Miz TV. We got CM Punk special reffing Ethan Page versus Trick Williams. We've got Roxanne Perez versus Julia. We've got the Wesley Zachary Wentz street fight. We've got Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for reasons. On Bad Blood, we've got Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest versus Finn Balor, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell, Nia Jax versus To Be Determined, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus The Bloodline.
Mega Powers against the Bloodline.
Then we go to St. Louis for night 2 of the NXT CW debut, where we have Sexy Red for reasons. Randy Orton.
Shawn Michaels just loves her.
So. Randy Orton versus Javon Evans. We've got Nathan Frazier and Axiom defending the tag titles against A-Town Down Under. Then we move over to Bound for Glory, and the only match we have so far is the main event, which is Nick Nemeth versus Joe Hendry. And then we get into my shit, Halloween Havoc, which doesn't even have anything announced yet. I think we're doing
all right. We don't even know who the champions will be at that point.
That's absolutely true. We don't know who's going to be participating, as it were.
Exactly. Could be Julia. Could be Rox.
I want somebody to come out for Halloween dressed as a giant chocolate bar. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because Halloween Havoc is taking place in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I'm a dork.
There we go. Hey, I've been to Hershey Park, so they could bring out that, the Reese's guy, all of it.
Nice. All right. I think that's it. I think I've bragged and enjoyed wrestling enough. Do you think we've hit on just about everything?
I think we have. I mean, we went through everything with TNA, and I mean, essentially they've got a lot going on, and I think what happens at Halloween Havoc also goes off of what happens at Bound for Glory.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
And we don't know who Jordan Grace is going to face yet.
No.
She just beat obviously Wendy Chu, but she's been doing the open challenge thing, so there's a plethora of people she could face.
I don't know if it's happening tonight or if it's happening next week, but there is a tag team match. I forget who they're facing, but it's her and Sol Ruka as a tag team.
Yes, so that's going to be interesting as well.
I think when we started it off a bit on the negative side. We hit a bit of a lull, I think it's safe to say, with Victory Road, which only makes me more excited to see how TNA pulls it back up towards Bound for Glory. It would be the same if WWE had a really shit December pay-per-view, but then we've got the ramp up to the Royal Rumble. It's the best comparison I can make.
And it wasn't terrible either.
No,
it had, like you said, it had a few awkward road bumps. The SDL injury was kind of, I'm glad they gave her time, but it certainly did, like, create a hiccup through the night. Like, it was very jarring. So
it's not... Yeah, when I say a lull, I just think TNA has raised itself up to a certain standard, so that when it doesn't hit it, it's still great. I'll just say, like, hey, you've set this new bar for yourself. So for me to say this is like they went back to being TNA in January, and we're now in September, and this is the first time I've been able to say, that was a bit of a lull. That's a pretty good record for just coming back.
And even, like I said, making sure we state that it wasn't even anything egregious. It was just kind of it was okay.
Off night.
A 3 out of 5 kind of idea.
Oh, you sound popular.
I am indeed.
All right, why don't you tell people where to find you while you're so popular?
You can find me on the Joe Cronin Show on Twitter at Countdown Ended. No updates yet. And then you can find me here on the Spaz Phoenix channel.
And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Super Sexy Jake DeMarco. This is the State of Wrestling. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.